Hello and welcome to I Should Say That Out Loud. I'm your host, Donna Brendel, and I'm so over the top excited to introduce you to my friend from the other side of the world, Orion Kelly, today. Thank you, Orion, for being on my show. I so appreciate you being here.
Hey, mate, great to see you again. It's great to talk on your podcast.
Okay, so starting just from the beginning to where I've gotten to, I know you have experienced some very traumatic life experiences, especially when you were younger. So I don't want to get too much into that, but I can relate to sibling loss and family loss. I lost my mom when I was really young. So I just want to acknowledge that and tell you I'm sorry for all that you've been through. And thank you for sharing those experiences in your book.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that that's, something that you could feel like you weren't alone in, experiencing it too. So that's really good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And on a lighter note, on page 4, you talk about never leaving the house without wearing your 3-piece suit. I love that. Okay, so did you just have one 3-piece suit or did you have several?
And it was brown.
I was going to ask you what color it was.
Yeah. I think the vest thing. It was, So clearly I didn't pick it out. The vest thing might have been like a mustard or something. But you know what? It didn't matter. I loved it. It was like brown and mustard and like a white shirt maybe and like a bow tie. It was. I've got some pictures of it, but none of them I'm smiling. Every picture, the look is like.
That's great.
Yes. So it was my little 3-piece suit.
Do you remember like why you liked to wear it? Did it make you feel a certain way or somebody on TV wore that?
It's a great question. Maybe I was an old man in my mind. I don't know. That's how
the young professor, right?
Yeah. I mean, I just that's how you dressed. I never. It's funny because now I like t-shirts, but when I was younger, I never got into the whole jeans and t-shirts thing. By the way, I hate jeans. Jeans are horrible. But yeah, it's an interesting question. I like shirts, and it's hard to ask a 7-year-old or whatever, why did you wear that? But I think it came down to a lot of different things, but I think one of the things was I thought that's how I should look, and also you got to keep in mind any opportunity to put on a show I would. So I didn't want to talk to people or interact with people, but I liked to entertain people and put on shows, and that's what you wear. That's what that's what you wear when you put on a show. When I was born back in the early 1920s. So I guess that's kind of, one of the reasons. Yeah, it's interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, that story that you have in your book reminded me of my daughter used to always go out of the house in her Snow White dress. And then my son used to always leave the house with a big construction pinchy claw thing because he loved anything that pinched. And so he'd walk around the store everywhere with this big yellow and black construction claw. And then, so that made me think, so what did I do when I was little? I didn't have like a set kind of clothes or costume or pinchy thing or anything, but I remember that I played in the dirt a lot, clearly, I guess, because I would like wipe my hands because I didn't like the dirt on my hands. So I'd wipe them on my shorts. And then my grandma would complain that my shorts were always dirty. So then I was like, what do I do? So that I wiped them on the back of my shorts. And then I looked down, I'm like, my shorts are clean. I'm all good. And then when people would get their pictures developed and I could see the backside of me, and I'm like, oh, the dirt's still there. For some reason, I didn't think that the dirt was there. I thought I was like tricking the system. So that was me in dirt covered shorts.
Yeah. And it's interesting you talked about, your son. I think I found too, I did have attachments to things, past the age, like a soft toy that would be literally falling apart, and I'd still want it, or, an attachment to a Superman T-shirt that was never going to fit me after a while, but there was a real attachment to these particular things. So it's, there's something really, I don't know why, but there's something really interesting about that, certain things that just brought something, to me. You couldn't let go of, kind of thing.
Yeah. So the next section I highlighted was on page 8 when you talk about bullying, and where they made up this thing called Orion's a Bastard Club. That was
Yes.
harsh. And then you're despicable, harsh. But, and well, they said that in a Daffy Duck voice, you said, but they didn't know back then that it was going to be cool to be despicable, right? The Despicable Me
Despicable
movie.
Me. Yeah, that's right. 100%.
Yeah. Um, I don't remember being bullied too much. I think I was just too oblivious to it. But I remember one time in grade school, I went to the bathroom and this group of older kids came into the bathroom stall. It was just me. Nobody, it wasn't a bathroom break. So it's just me. And they were all like standing on the toilets on either side of me, looking over the walls of the stall and totally invading my privacy. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. And I didn't say anything because I was so scared. I was like, what's going on? So that was one instance I remember. Oh, but I do remember being teased for my hair was always greasy because I never liked taking a bath. And my hair was always
Yep.
full of knots and ratted, long hair and rat's nest. So I did
Yep.
get teased for that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it can be relentless. When you have these types of differences, obviously, and yeah, with having autistic kids, I can understand that having a bath or a shower is just a nightmare to try and get them to do that regularly. And yeah, that doesn't make it easier. But I think it's relentless. Even now, we're having a son in primary school, like in elementary, whatever you guys want to call it. Make up a different name for everything. Go, good for
Yes.
you. But yeah, I mean, it's relentless, and it's kind of come to. I've kind of come to the realization that there's really no complicated answer. The simple answer is people, as a standard operating procedure, just don't like difference of any kind.
Yeah.
Any kind of difference of any kind will be bullied. That's just how we are. So it never stops. It's just gone from me to the next generation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it's relentless. And it's sad too. Like having a 10-year-old, and it's just like every day is so hard for him. And things that you don't think about, it's just, yeah, it's that has a load on parents too, obviously. Like our kid never gets invited to birthday parties, but he believes he has friends, and it's like, like, this is just, when will this end? So, and that of course reflects on us too, because that means that the parents are rejecting us as well.
Oh yeah. Wow.
So it makes it tricky, but yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? Like, you could ask me questions, and I will not have the memory to answer, but I can remember my friends, calling, saying, let's join up the Orion's a Bastard Club, and that were my friends. But I can remember that like it was yesterday. So, and it just shows, the kind of troubles you have navigating life, just being different in any way.
Yeah. It's tough. But thank you for just being so honest and vulnerable in these pages. It's really helpful.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I'm glad to hear that.
On page 10, you talk about being shipped off to your grandparents. Do you remember that?
School holidays was always, for me, by the way, this was always amazing. I loved hanging out with my grandparents. It was great. And, because I got to hang out with them, one-on-one, and we got to do things together. And, I was coming from a family of lots of kids. It was always good to have a bit of, alone time or whatever.
Yeah.
And I loved it. But, isn't it funny how you see things differently as you get older? So, clearly here I am, in my opinion, hanging out with my nan and pop, grandma, grandpa, on my dad's side. So clearly here I am looking at my grandpa who has passed down through the genetic chain what makes me different. He doesn't know. I don't know. And here's my nan who just thinks that who can see the real me, like who finds me funny and likes me, thinks that it's my entertainment and stuff, and can see my potential. When my parents are also, let's be honest, getting respite care, basically shipping me off. It's respite care, which I dig. I get. I mean, I would love my 10-year-old son to be able to hang out with his grandparents or family and give us a bit of break, because I know he would love it and we would love it. so I can, it's very different to look at it now.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that, by the way, in like a mean way to my parents. I just mean that
Mm.
it happened regularly, very regularly. So let's be honest. I mean, like if I'm always, but it was great to hang out with them, and I still look back on that as such great times with my in Australia we call them Nan and Pop, but yeah, I just it's just such great times to hang out with them. I think a lot of, honestly, I went on to do radio out of school, and it was my Nan and my Pop who actually introduced me to a friend of theirs who was the manager at a radio station in the town they lived in. And they ended up organising, when I got a bit older, work experience there, and that was one of my
That's
first
awesome.
connections to radio. And in a way, my Nan really helped me like evolve and and I guess cultivate that passion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's when you look back, my life would have been very different if it wasn't for the support of them being able to see me, but
Yeah.
see the real me, even though no one really knew who the real me was. But this
Mm-hmm.
is the thing. Looking back now, we now know research wise that its genetic link is paternal. So as a rule, the genetic link with autism is passed down paternally, so through the father's side.
Mm-hmm.
So and from the maternal side, it more comes down to immune disorders and things that kind of create this cocktail. But it's so hanging out with my Pop, who's my dad's dad, I mean, like you can look back and really see the connections, and it's quite fascinating
Yeah.
when you're older now. If only we could have this conversation now, it'd be so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And he related to me so much too. But he struggled in life. There was no question about that. He was different to my Nan.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that so much more now. And I don't know if I've went that deeply in my book into that, but I can't tell you how much I relate to my dad and my Pop as men. It's quite amazing now. We are so similar. No duh, huh? Yet I'm the only one who's got the official medical diagnosis, because my
Yeah.
grandpa is passed, and my dad presumably it's not occurred to him or has no interest, which makes total sense where he is in life. But it's fascinating when you look back at time through your family tree.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just grateful I was able to spend so much quality time with my grandparents. Being shipped off was the best thing that could have ever really happened to me. So
Yes. That's awesome. Well, I can relate to a lot of that too. I suspect that my dad was autistic as well. He is also passed, but he has a lot of the same stins as I do, with like the way we rub our fingers. And he was a very quiet man most of the time, unless he got mad. Then watch out, you don't want to hear what he's going to say. But I also spent a lot of time with my foster, in air quotes, grandma. I wasn't shipped off. I don't really know why I ended up there, because my mom died when I was really young, so I don't know that whole story. But I spent 3 years with her, and then back with my mom and dad for a couple of years, and then 3 more years with her. So I was with her for 6 years. So she wasn't autistic, and that she's not part of the genetic. She's not like biological family, so not part of the genetic transmission of autism. But she provided a lot of stability in my life and helped me just have experience some normalcy. And I just have a lot of memories there, and was wondering if you remember that and had really good experience, or if you were lonely, missed your family, anything like that.
Yeah, and I think like I kind of touched on it a bit with hanging out with my Nan and Pop, how that really helped me. So I mean, from my point of view, like I said, I really loved it. I look back on it fondly, and I think it was a really powerful time, because it allowed me the opportunity to get away from my brothers and sisters and breathe as a person, and try to work at myself. enjoy myself. Just playing out in their backyard, with a ball, and just kicking a ball around myself was fun. Going to the movies with just my nan or stuff. I think
Do you have
these
more
things.
alone time there than you did at your house?
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
There was when wasn't there alone time? I mean, it's my nan and my pop and me. I can pretty much do
Mhm.
what I want whenever I want around their backyard and their house, and watch some movies and. So yeah, I think that's probably right. Back before you had any idea that alone time plays a vital role in any autistic person's life. I don't care if
Yeah.
they're 1 or 100. So
Mhm.
and the fact that my nan was so so different to me. So clearly she married, in my opinion, an autistic man, or certainly a
Mhm.
man like me, riddled with issues, anxiety, and like you said, we are literally nothing or angry as hell kind of thing.
Yeah.
That is my personality, and that is his, right? I mean, and she being so different, couldn't have been a more perfect fit for someone that I needed. Yeah,
Mm.
because I would say my parents are significantly higher strung, both of them, than my nan was. So
Mm.
there wasn't really my nan figure potentially at home.
Okay.
She
Yeah.
was just a classic Aussie nan. She could do it all, all the arts and craft, and she would like paint on china, and she was in the local women's groups, and she was just one of those kind of like classic Aussie nans, and bloody
Aw.
amazing cook, and
Yeah.
just loved the fact that she had a grandson who could make her laugh and it was funny, and or
Yeah.
grandkids. She just loved that. She was that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it sounds like the same for you. But for these people in our life,
Right.
it could
Exactly.
have been a very different outcome. So thank God, for
Yes.
time with my nan, and
Mhm.
thank God potentially for time, with your adopted, basically your adopted
Yeah.
grandma. I
Yeah.
mean, these are the things that really can change the course of your life. You just need someone to believe in you. That's the thing.
Mhm.
It's about
Mhm.
like believing in the potential, and also just treating you the way everyone wants to be treated, right? So, because you can
Yeah.
fall into the trap as parents of treating your kid how you see them, as in like, well, you're a great person, but you're always agitating me, so I'm going to treat you like I'm always agitated with you, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's really horrible. It's like, you always make me angry, so I'm going to treat you like I'm always angry at you.
Mhm.
That's what you can fall into the trap of. Now, I'm not saying just my parents. I'm saying I know I do that. So sometimes to have someone who treats you like they're not angry, agitated, you're just a cool person, that's really empowering. Does that
It
make
is.
sense?
No, absolutely, for sure. I remember when my son was younger and I would struggle with him day after day and the frustrations he and I had at home. And then I would go to one of his parent teacher conferences, and the first thing that like pretty much all the teachers would say is, "Why are you even here? Your son is amazing." But I'm like, "Okay, I'm here, so tell me what you know." And they give me like the most amazing review of my son and how smart he is, kind he is, helpful to all the other kids. I'm like, oh wow, like what am I missing at home? And I go home and like spoil him and take him out to eat and like just hug him and like, I'm so sorry, I'm so frustrated all the time.
Yeah, but you know what? They're masking heavily at school, and they're getting a whole
Yeah,
different
yeah.
version. And you're like it's like they can say that. It's my response in when I'm in your situation is, okay, you're full of crap. So thanks so much, but no, I'm going. I'm leaving. But yeah, exactly. You got to take everything with a grain of salt.
I don't take it that way. I take it as, oh thank goodness, like he
Yeah,
can
that's right.
like
Yeah.
behave out in public.
I guess so. Yeah, that's true. I guess so. I mean, that's the problem with autistic kids. They mask so heavily at school to fit in that
Mhm.
teachers think
Mhm.
that, but then of course that's not sustainable. And also you can't
Yeah.
learn and mask at the same time. Something's got to
Mhm.
give. And that's probably one of the biggest challenges, having a young autistic kid in school, right? Like trying to
Yeah.
work out the balance between him feeling like he, is keeping himself regulated, and him being able to learn, and also not well, I don't know what other way to put it apart from, not create friction amongst the neurotypical kids. It's a
Yeah.
massive juggle for kids at
Yeah.
school.
Mhm.
And learning's the first to go.
Mm.
That's the sad part right now for our kid. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, everyone's given up on you learning anything. All they care about is you finding ways to be regulated so you don't scare other kids, right?
Well, yeah.
And there's no way you can learn if you're only focused on trying to find ways to help other people feel comfortable. That's not going to help, because then you won't be regulated. If you the autistic kid's not regulated, they can't learn. So yeah, it's but as you say, it's always a different view, when you're a parent of an autistic kid, because they can be bloody great at masking and giving people, but not with you, because you're their safe person in their safe place. They've got no need to do that. So you're constantly getting the shaken Coke bottle at the end of the day.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
anyway, yeah.